Welcome to
Posted
Fiery
my
Discourse.
nudes on Twitter.
Well, that's an interesting way to start things. Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, Stryker, and our special guest today is Sharvoun. Today is our 97th episode, and we're discussing the 1994 Sonic the Hedgehog, aka SATAM episode, Dulcy. So, let's get things started.
Snooping us. Wait a minute.
If only it was that one. If only it was that one. But yeah. So Sonic the Hedgehog is a character who completely exploded into popularity in the early 90s. Like, he's still popular now, but back then he was popular to the point of absolute insanity. He was so popular, he had not one, but two cartoons of him airing at the exact same time. Both of these shows featured Jaleel White, who was probably best known as playing Steve Urkel on Family Matters, another 90s show that really holds up. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out again, as Sonic.
Can I do that?
I was going to make that joke.
Yep, had to do it. But yeah, so the first show was Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a bit of a more comedic take on the character. It's in the vein of like Looney Tunes and Felix the Cat, and it also, of course, gave us many great memes. The most notable one being, of course, Pingus, which, of course, Pingus. You were saying, Angron?
Oh, man. Like, I didn't grow up with these shows, but these honestly look pretty freaking crazy. Like, and looking between it and Felix the Cat, both it and the Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat, I could definitely see the parallels. Both were absolutely a trip. And still kind of hard to this day.
Yeah, it definitely is a show that is a strange show, but it does hold up in more ways than you expect. But the one we're talking about today is not that one. We're talking about this show, which is just called Sonic the Hedgehog, best known as SATAM. It's a more serious take on the character and the world. This version of Robotnik was a lot more serious and much more evil compared to his comedic counterpart on Adventures. And the tone of the show is really, really dark in a way. A lot more than a lot of video game cartoons would be back in that day. Oh, Sharvoun, you were saying?
I would consider this a very ahead of its time kind of show, and the most unique show out of all of the Sonic franchise.
In many ways, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see that. Matt, you were saying?
Yeah, the show itself was a lot darker than you would expect from a Sonic show. We're going to be talking about a character named Dulcy who was literally made, especially for this season, for the sole purpose of being comedic relief. So the tonal whiplash is a little bit odd at times.
Honestly, though, it kind of works, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Yep, it definitely does. And again, for me, part of the weirdness of this show is that, again, you have this like serious, we have to stop the evil dictator and save the world thing with these rubber hose 1930s Felix the Cat-esque designs. And it is kind of weird when you really sit down and think about it, but it's still a lot of fun. But this show, aside from having, of course, Sonic and Tails, because those were really the only two Sonic characters we knew of, and, of course, Robotnik, they had to make a lot of original characters to the show, like Sally Acorn and the like. And, of course, as Matt said, in Season 2, a dragoness named Dulcy was added to the show. And we'll talk more about her design when we actually see her in the episode, which won't be very long. So let's get to it. So the episode begins with Sonic's roboticized Uncle Chuck. Now, I just want to make one thing clear. Uncle Chuck is not related to Lightning McQueen's little forklift guy. My name is Chuck!
Nice.
Anyway, Shark?
Uncle Chuck also isn't the former owner of Sneed's Feed and Seed.
That is also true. Yep. But what happens is basically Uncle Chuck eggs a manhole and he gives a thumbs up to Sonic. And it's one thing I'll say right now, the backgrounds on this show are absolutely phenomenal. Like, again, this show was made by Deke Entertainment, who made a lot of cartoons this time. They're probably best known, of course, for their Mario cartoons as well as Adventures. But this looks amazing. This is a level of quality that, if you've seen their other shows in the time, you wouldn't think possible from them.
Yeah, definitely. You can absolutely get it from the opening, believe it or not. Like
Yes.
from the moment the cartoon intro opens up, you are either hit with nostalgia nowadays, or you are absolutely blown away in the past. Like that's how influential it was. The theme's awesome. The animation's pretty great. Like Dick knew exactly what they were doing with this, unlike many other things. But
It's
yeah,
pronounced Deke, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Sharvoun?
will. The back. Honestly, the backgrounds just drip with so much atmosphere. When people say that this is darker, this is something. It also gives a different feel to the entire show. Sorry for the rambling, but it really does have a different setup with a different tone. Like this Robotnik's world is more apocalyptic and dystopian.
I mean, to be fair, Sonic CD would do something similar, but yeah, for the time, this was
Yeah.
definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, Sonic looks up at Dulcy, who is looking through a set of binoculars before seeing that the coast is clear for Uncle Chuck to continue running. And now let's talk a little bit about Dulcy herself, because again, she was added in season 2 as the comedy relief. Her design is a very rotund, bottom-heavy one that would remind it of like Bluth's dragons, or again the Reluctant Dragon from Disney. I got a lot of vibes from, but and it is a good design. I like the color scheme, the green and oranges. It's a unique one. There's two parts of her design that just don't work for me, unfortunately. Number one is that for some reason she wears a nose ring, and I don't get it. It just does not look good on her. I'm not opposed to that in general, but for this type of character, it looks a little weird. And the second part of her design that's a bit weird is, I think probably the biggest one for me is that they have lips. Like these dragons, they have, of course, like, snaps, but they have very predominant lips, and it's very awkward, It actually does, if they had like a more traditional dragon snout, it would look far and away better than this weird kind of quasi-human face combo they're trying to do with it. Anyway, Angron?
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, the nose ring, I don't mind as much because it's the 90s and all people were doing little weird things back in those days. That I don't mind. It does look a little off, but that's not the main issue. The main issue are the lips. Having lips on female characters or any kind of character that's supposed to have a pronounced lip is a crapshoot, especially when it comes to animal characters. Like, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And more times than not, it just doesn't work. I mean, it works fine here for Dulcy. I don't hate it, but yeah, it definitely can feel a little jarring for the most part.
I've just learned to like it, to be honest.
Same
Yeah,
for the most
I can
part.
see it. I can see it.
I'm of the similar opinion that the lips and the nose didn't bother me, but the nose ring kind of did.
Yeah.
And if you want to get especially weird with the lips, keep in mind she's voiced by a black actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
stop you right there.
let's not go into that. Let's not do that. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank goodness they made her blue. That's all I'm gonna
It's
say
not.
on that.
Let's not. Please. It's not. Okay.
I'm
But
sorry.
anyway, what happens is basically basically all of a sudden Dulcie's wings begin to flap as she hovers off the ground for a few seconds before landing with a boing sound effect. She says she should cut down on the chocolate, which apparently. Yeah, I was just about to say the chocolate fish would not be amused by this. Yep, and Dulcie is voiced by Cree Summer, a legendary voice actress who has been in literally absolutely everything. Like, if you've seen a cartoon from the 80s onwards, she is going to be in statistically at least one of the things you have seen, at least,
Oh,
and
yes.
she got to start on the show A Different World, and then she transitioned into voice acting, and here, like in most other places, she does a really good job as a character, a really, really good job, and she is a standout of the episode, I will say that much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surprised that this is the first time we're covering something with her.
I know, it's shocking. Almost 100
This-
episodes in.
This show is a treasure trove of legendary voice actors. Not just Cree Summer. There's also Jim Cummings, Kat Susie, Christine Kavanaugh, and even Chip from Beauty and the Beast himself. His name escapes me. But the voice acting in this is top notch, especially from Cree Summer, as we'll see in a moment.
Yep. Shark.
Yeah, she Now, keep in mind this show is kinda oldish, and she's still voicing as of today, and the more modern stuff. Like she was number 5 in The Kids Next Door, and she was even Medusa in Kid Icarus Uprising. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
she does
she's
such
been
a
for a
great job in
while.
that in particular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still doing stuff nowadays as well. She also played another dragoness that we'll maybe cover in the future from Vox Machina. If you know, you know. But for
Ooh.
now, but yeah, it's definitely not going to be the last time we'll be talking about her.
Nope, definitely not. But what happens is 2 robot cars float by as the occupants say that everything is clear. Uncle Chuck uses a crowbar to break open the door as an alarm goes off. He then opens up an air vent as Sonic runs through it. Meanwhile, Snively, who is Robotnik's little assistant, he heads towards the view screen and sees Sonic bragging on it. Now, Snively is usually a very short, bald man with a long nose, and he's voiced by voice acting legend Charlie Adler, which I guess this can only mean one thing.
I
One
knew
thing.
I recognized that voice.
Yep. Buster Bunny Wants Revenge. He was supposed to be the big standout blue cartoon character of 1991, not Sonic.
Also, freaking Mathacles or whatever his name was from Aladdin.
Right. But he basically calls Sonic a miserable hedgehog. Then he alerts the sleeping Robotnik that Sonic has broken in. Barely raising his head from his sleep, Robotnik says to activate all the Mecha Muck units to pursue Sonic. Robotnik here is voiced by Jim Cummings, and he he does a very good job here with the Robotnik. He definitely makes him sound menacing in a way that not a lot of Jim Cummings characters does sound like. He really does a good job here.
Yeah, definitely.
The man is a multi-talented legend. He was able to play Scar without being distracting. He is just a go-to when it comes to animated villain.
For the most part, yeah. There are some voices that don't really need the Cummings touch, but here it definitely was a very welcome addition. Also, this Eggman is a lot darker and a lot more cybernetic, as it were. He does not have a heart.
Yep.
I will put it
Math?
like that.
I think what really helps this Eggman is that they used Jim Cummings' voice, which already has a strong presence to it, and then added sort of this robotic reverb behind it, so it sounds even darker, which really adds to just how intimidating this particular Robotnik is compared to all other iterations of him.
Nice.
Definitely. I definitely could see that. So, what happens next, of course, is that Uncle Chuck puts the cover back on the shaft, then whistles as Sonic is being chased by the robots on hover bikes. The robot designs here, for some reason, reminded me a lot of Maximilian from the movie The Black Hole. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I can definitely kind of see it, a cross between that and Battlestar Galactica Cylons, but what happens is...
They also remind me a bit of Buzz Lightyear of both of Star Command and the Lightyear movie. Both of those. Something I couldn't help but notice when I watched this.
Yeah, I definitely can make that. I definitely can make the comparison too. So what happens is basically Robotnik says that Sonic is finally his, and Snively cheers for the robots to get him. Sonic is surrounded by the robots as Dulcy arrives and hovers overhead. In a really cool moment, Sonic runs so fast that he causes a tornado that knocks all the robots off their hover bikes, and seeing more, he runs off. Dulcy cheers him on as Sonic runs into the Mega Muck robots, which apparently shoot out green slime, so I guess we finally know Robotnik is working for Nickelodeon.
Also,
That's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention
Yeah.
that. Maybe he's the one that built the Lost Temple.
Yeah.
That, or he also he found a way to process Slimer.
True.
He slimed me.
Nice. So
And
yeah,
it will eventually create the creation of Luigi in Luigi's Mansion 3.
well, he did a good thing then. Yep.
Oh my
Egad
gosh.
versus Robotnik. We need that death battle now.
Yes. First was Bowser. Now Egad.
Yep. But Robotnik's personal transport arrives as Sonic basically mocks him for his nightwear. Dulcy's wings start to flap again as she wonders what's happening before getting control of herself. Meanwhile, Robotnik has trapped Sonic in a capsule, much like the ones Team Rocket used on Pikachu, and he apologizes for the accommodations. And again, I have to really reiterate just how good Cummings is here, because he's so threatening, and yet, like, in a way that is... It's menacing, but at the same time, it's almost like awe-striking. Go ahead, Shark.
Indeed.
To give an idea, in this scene, he's using pajamas and yet manages to still be threatening.
Exactly.
Yeah. He could be in a freaking Speedo and he would still be like, go, good God, keep him away.
Yeah.
First
Well,
of all,
he was in
thank
that
you
in
for
the other
pleasant
show.
imagery.
He was in that in the other show. But basically, what happens is Dulcy then arrives and breathes ice out of her nostrils. It does kind of look weird how it's done. I get what they were going for, but I don't think Deke was ready to animate that kind of thing. Oh, go ahead, Math.
What's really weird about that, the way that they do the dragon attacks, you see it mostly with Dulcie, but it is shown with other dragons in the show, is that they breathe in really heavy, and their chests, which are rather sleek and slender, because they're particularly bottom heavy, expand out rather large, and it's one of those things that I feel like the showrunner had a particular like.
Yeah, that we're
I
not
can
being
definitely
around the
see
bush
that.
on that one. When Dulcie breathed in, it looks like she legit 100% had tits on her freaking chest.
Yep.
Good lordy.
Yep, to put it that bluntly, yep, it kind of does. But what happens is then her ice breath basically freezes both Robotnik and all of his robots. Sonic smashes the capsule and leaps onto her feet as she flies away. Dulcie says that he needed to chill, so evidently she's learning puns from Mr. Freeze now, as Robotnik fuses from inside. as he fumes from inside his ice prison.
The
And
dinosaurs.
classic. But
The
we cut
Ice
back.
Age!
Nice. We cut back to Dulcie flying back to the forest, and this is something I have to really commend Deke for. This is really some of their best animation, and I don't say that lightly because Deke is a company that did a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was not good stuff, but when they could hit, they could hit. And I love the POV shot of Dulcie flying from her perspective going into the forest and like zooming in and zooming lower, and that is something that for Deke, this might as well be like their version of the multi-plane camera, basically.
Indeed. Also, Deke is basically the Mr. Game & Watch of the animation universe. Like, more times than not, you get a 3, a 4, or like a 7 at most. But when it hits that 9, it hits that 9.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect, but it works.
It hits
Very
it
much
great,
so.
yep. But we get to see Bunny Robot attempts to help her land, as Sonic is convinced that Dulcie will land right this time. Bunny is voiced by Christine Kavanagh, who was a very popular voice actress of this time, and unfortunately it has the added effect of making her sound a little bit like Chucky from Rugrats with a southern accent.
Or Dexter without the European accent.
That's true. Yeah. But Dulcie lands, but ends up crashing with her knees going into the ground and that. We then come back to Robotnik and Snively, as Robotnik says that if there is one dragon, there may be many more. He and Snively have their robots find a dragon robot and uses a mind probe on it to find more information about dragonesses and their weaknesses. So last episode, or 2 episodes rather, we had a robot dinosaur. Now we have a robot dragon. If only Slash was here.
Oh boy.
Yep. Anyway, let's see. Math?
Technically speaking, for the lore of the show, these are not robot dragons. These are dragons that have been roboticized, turned into robots.
The
Right.
family show.
Yep.
Yeah, they legit got freaking Borged.
That's
Yep. And
that's one of the things I love about this show. It really does highlight how twisted the idea of turning animals into robots is.
The downside to TFs.
Yep.
Not only that, but it
Sure.
also shows how sadistic Robotnik is, because apparently he actually keeps them conscious but unable to control their actions, just so they witness the horrors they are doing under his control.
Yeah. Again, like I say, this show really was not afraid to get dark, and that is a perfect example of it. But what happens is Uncle Chuck overhears their plans and, not liking the sound of it, runs off. We come back to the Freedom Fighters base. We hear Sonic talking to the others about how he and Dulcy got away from Robotnik as Rotor, the walrus, puts patches on Dulcy's knees. Sadly, Rotor is alone, probably because his father went with some carpenter to go get some little oysters for dinner.
Nice.
I didn't make that joke. Yep. But basically, we of course get to see Sally Acorn, who probably is the best known character from this iteration of it, to the extent that she was almost going to be part of the Sonic game canon. It didn't happen, but the fact it almost did shows how much she was popular amongst that time amongst the fan base. She's also voiced. Well, yeah, but this is even before that. But she's voiced by Kat Susi, who is another very predominant voice actress. Her voice is not one that, from fan art, I thought she would sound like, to be honest. And it's very interesting how, like, your perception of a character's voice can be different from what you expect from it, but that's just my little thing.
I personally think Kat Susie is wonderful as Sally. She serves as the perfect foil as well as complement to Sonic. Just as confident, but also a lot more mature and level-headed.
Indeed.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, she's a girl, and pretty much full on, for the most part, bare-bodied, as it were.
Yep. But what happens next, basically, is that Dulcy mentioned that the landings are really killing her before a yellow halo-like circle appears around her head as she hovers before hitting the ceiling, then lands on one of Rotor's machines. Dulcy mentions that she's been having more and more of these spells lately as she decides to go to bed. In a really weird and unexpected thing, she sleeps upside down in a tree. That is something that is just so weird. It's like, I don't know if they explain it, because again, this is the only episode of the show I saw, but it's very, very interesting. Let's put it that way. Wow, a lot of people here. Let's see who's going to go first. Go ahead.
Honestly, this doesn't really bother me because we got dragons like Noivern and Toothless who have canonically done this in the past. Noivern because it's a dragon bat, and Toothless because Toothless. Let's be fair.
Yeah, nice. Math?
So we got a dragon with a body that's more like a kangaroo. The nose ring and sort of snout more like a cow, and that sleeps upside down like a bat. This character is a mishmash of like 20 different animals all in one.
Look at the Mobius.
Can make that point. And Shark?
Yeah, when I saw this, I don't know, I guess because it will be like a way a bat will sleep, but all I could think was like, wonder how Rouge the Bat will look in this show.
Yeah. Wow, I'm actually surprised there's no fan art of that. That actually would be really interesting, but leave it to how Rouge would look in this show compared to the other characters. But leave it to Sonic Team to make a character that is way more sexually charged than anything that any American character design could come up with.
Damn.
Yep. But anyway, what happens is her wings suddenly start flapping as she unintentionally takes off. Sally, meanwhile, gets a message from her carrier bird and is shocked by what it reads. Sonic and Dulcy run out to see Sonic and Sally, they run out to see Dulcy flying erratically through the sky. And it's here where, as good as Deke is with their animation, they're not perfect. And here's probably the biggest animation error of the episode, where Sally basically talks to Sonic, then her expressions and body language changes from one frame to the next. It's almost as if they were trying to do like a jump cut, but it's the exact same scene. So you just have her like looking concerned, and then literally 1 millisecond later, she's standing there calm with a smile on her face. It is so weird, and at least for me, it was very noticeable. Go ahead, let's see who's first. Angron?
I didn't notice it when I was watching it twice, but I will say this: it can't be a do-it-cheap production without having a cut corner. So, congratulations, Deke. You did your job.
Anyway, Shark?
Yeah, to be fair, this is Sonic's one error here against the Thousand in the Mario cartoons.
Yep. Oh, and we are gonna get when we get to the next Mario cartoon episode, boy. We have a funny as hell error to talk about with that one, but
And the
unfortunately,
Mario Brothers.
yep.
Until
But that'll be
then.
next time. But basically, Sonic carries Sally as he runs after her, with Dulcy mumbling about going back to her mother. Meanwhile, we get to see Snively and Robotnik spying on her as Robotnik orders the patrol to bring her in and laughs evilly. And again, another little error here is when Robotnik laughs, his mouth isn't moving. It's like he's laughing through his teeth, which, if this is unintentional, it's actually one that kind of worked because it actually makes him look creepier, like he's laughing through his teeth. He's that deranged.
Oh god, that reminds me of this one video I showed Stryker and Sharvoun earlier, where it's like Bob, Wade, and Mark doing Distractable, but they're like talking about music and whatnot, and Wade's like, I like my women how I like music. Funky. And like at one point Bob's like, need to do the lower lip bite. And he just like freaking does this upper lip bite instead, and he's like, oh wait. Oh gosh, it was hilarious.
Right. Nice. So, what happens then is when we cut back, we see Dulcy flying through the plains as some drone bots fly past her and tie rope around her limbs. She's in such a deep trance she doesn't notice any of this. Sonic and Sally land on one of the hover cars, and as Sonic uses a laser to cut the ropes, Sally tries to wake up Dulcy from her trance to no avail. One of the hover cars, meanwhile, shoots a laser at Sonic, who's hanging on a rope tied to Dulcy's foot. The laser cuts through the rope, causing Sonic to fall as Dulcy manages to catch him on her back. As she flies through the air, we get another bit of weird powers that Dulcy has, and that she belches, which somehow makes smoke come out of her ears and creates a smoke screen, which points to originality, I guess, you know?
Welcome to Mobius.
Yep. But we then cut back to the village where Dulcy is telling the others that she was in a deep trance where her mother was telling her to come to Dragon's Nest. Sonic asks where that is as Dulcy says that it's where all the lady dragons go, which is extremely relevant to our podcast, but unfortunately it only appeared in this one episode and never showed up in anything else Sonic related. Boo.
Let's go there, damn it. I want to see all the lady dragons. Lips or no?
Yep. Meanwhile, Sally types in the information to Nicole, her personal computer, who says that it is for onset migration during adolescence. Sonic, of course, doesn't understand this and tells the computer to explain. Nicole basically tells him that dragons enter a trance that causes them to go to their nesting grounds, and that although only adult dragons lay eggs, adolescents go there as some kind of a survival instinct. Sonic still doesn't get it, so apparently he's not the smartest thing alive, as Sally basically has to spell it out to him that Dulcy is having dreams telling her to go to Dragon's Nest.
Shame it's not Dragonland.
If only it was.
I just want to say I really like this edition. It sort of makes it gives off the idea that this kind of behavior is more instinctual, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
actually like a sort of internal genetic mechanism that all dragons in this universe have. That concept. Shark?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they should have asked a Co-Rush computer for help at this point.
Nice. And Math?
Look, I know we can be a little bit of a stereotype of ourselves with how much we like dragons and all that. It's not really helping our image when you choose the dragon mating episode that features her.
My ball. Let's just say it's the episode called the Dragoness character. What else was I going to pick? It's the one that is actually named after her. So don't blame me. Blame the writers.
Yeah.
But what happens is, as Nicole continues to speak, we see that Snively and Robotnik are watching this, finding out exactly where it is, as Robotnik turns out to have various evil intentions. Uncle Chuck is listening to this as he's writing down what's going on, with the Sally's messenger bird arriving once again. We cut back to the village as Nicole does kind of a hologram of Dulcy's dreams. Her dreams consist of a younger her flying towards her mother as the others talk about how cute she looked. Dulcy's mother has a similar design to her, but with brown scales and red lips, which, again, gives her a very off-putting appearance. Dulcy's mother tells her that she's doing well as Dulcy crashes when she lands. Dulcy gets upset at this, and our friends tease her, but Dulcy's mother tells her that he's special. The dream then transforms to a group of dragons entering Dragon's Nest as Dulcy wakes up. She then realizes that she has to leave right now, and despite Sally and Sonic trying to tell her otherwise, she literally bursts through the ceiling. Sally's bird, of course, arrives seconds too late with a warning that Robotnik is also going to Dragon's Nest. We then cut to Robotnik and Snively riding in a ship before they put it on camouflage. Sonic and Sally try to catch up as Sally gives Sonic a power ring that increases his speed. So I guess in this canon, the Sonic's rings are the exact same thing as Pac-Man's power pellets.
I actually like this change. It really does. It really actually does bring something that was from the game and actually try to bring relevance to it.
Yeah. Also, interesting fact, this universe is part of the Archie Sonic universe, which means that power right there is how Sonic can ultimately access chaos, as in pretty much the force that gives Sonic, pretty much the force that pretty much can rewrite reality and make Sonic even powerful. You know?
I definitely kind of see that. But what happens is the pair make it to the canyon, then run up to see a dragon being kidnapped by Robotnik's ship. Sonic says they're too late, as Sally wanted to the dragoness that was kidnapped was Dulcy. But then Dulcy arrives a few seconds later and lands as usual before the pair realize that it's Dulcy. And it's here where we get a moment that, for all intents and purposes, broke my brain. Because Dulcy comes across the abandoned dragon's nest. She comes across an egg, and then she wonders if the egg is hers before wondering if she's supposed to fry it. And it's like, what are we doing here, people? It's like, I get there's a line between being comedy relief and being outright like idiotic, and I think they crossed that line with this moment. I mean, wow.
I feel like the idea is that she's supposed to be still waking up, and she has the mentality of a little girl, so she doesn't quite understand how things work, and that's
More or
sort of her
less, yeah.
genuality.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I can
More
say
or
it.
less.
Yeah, let's see. Matt, you were saying?
Hey, she's a ditz. Do you get it, folks?
Yep.
It's not that in your face, Math. I mean, it is a little noticeable, but it's not like she's being intentionally dumb. She's just confused.
Yeah, I can kind of say it. Shark?
Okay, so this is something that happened a bit earlier than this scene, but still something that kinda threw me off is that when Sonny and Sally are in the dragon area and they see Dulcy arrive, they're like, "Is that Sally's like, oh, is that Dulcy?" And Sonic's like, "Nah. Oh wait, yes." Yeah, I don't know what was that, but
Yeah,
it's a gag they wanted to add.
yeah, it's definitely a weird one. But what happens then, we then get another weird moment as the egg continuously bounces, including landing on our foot as she tells it to, "Don't have a cow," which, okay, what are they going to do next? They're going to do the Bartman?
I don't hate that line, to be honest.
They're going to go out for chocolate frosty milkshakes nest. I mean, you could definitely tell this was like 1991, 92, 93. Like, this is when Simpsons was like everything and Bartmania still kind of existed, but yeah. Let's see. Shark?
Yeah, sure.
Don't have a Stegosaurus, man.
Classic. Yeah.
I will say this, though, about that scene. That's a line you don't really hear all that often nowadays. It's not a bad line, really. It's just a line, and it being used here is something that I'm pretty okay with. It's not used as often, and for that, I give props when people use it.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. But again, I think what it is, too, is just something that is so dated and it's so tied to another cartoon. Like, you could pinpoint when this was made or, like, what era of the 90s this is made. Because it's really, really noticeable. But what happens is Dulcie lays on the egg as Sally and Sonic arrive. I like how Sally has to actually tell Dulcie that she didn't lay the egg because she's too young to do that. Like, Dulcie herself couldn't figure that out. Yep. But what happens is the egg begins hopping as Dulcie catches it with her tail. Sally then tells her that Robotnik is probably looking for her, but Dulcie says that when the egg hatches, the hatchling will need milk from its mother, which means that in this universe, dragons are somehow mammals and reptiles at the exact same time.
The
The
family
Mobius.
show.
Yeah,
I
not
mean,
really
look
that, but-
at what happened when Dulcy tried to read ice at the beginning of the episode.
That is also
Yeah.
true.
Also, I was gonna say that, to be fair, in a world that's been taken over by Robotnik, I don't think there's a lot of sex education here.
That is also true.
Yeah.
Let's see, math?
If I had a nickel for every episode we did where milk was a prominent joke, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's kind of weird that happened twice in a row right now.
Yep, I was just about to say. I was about to say last week was that too. Crazy. And Angron?
I will say this about this moment, though. Implying that they can legit do that sort of thing is honestly makes the Mobian dragons a lot more unique than we're giving them credit for. I'll say that much.
Nice. But what happens is we then cut to Robotnik's interrogating the mother dragoness, if there are other dragons out there. And here the mother dragoness of this episode, she's not named, so we're just technically going to call her that. She has a really good design. One that I honestly think looks a little better than Dulcy's. I think it's mostly the color scheme because she has the same basic body shape as Dulcy with grayish pink scales, mess of brown hair, and yellow horns. But I don't know, there's something about it that looks way better, even though she has the thing like with the lips and that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just maybe it works better on her because of the color scheme or something. It's very, very strange, but
Yeah. Math?
you were saying?
I think what works with this one is that she has more prominent bovine features, especially around the face, and without the nose ring, you can kind of see that a lot better.
Indeed.
I can definitely make that point. Yeah, that definitely is a thing there. But what happens is
Also, I'll say this. Her design kind of reminds me a bit of Dragon Tales, which definitely raises some questions. And I will say this, it does look a little better than Dulcy, but not gonna lie, I like Dulcy a little more character-wise.
Hmm.
Well, I'll explain more later, but yeah. Also, Shark.
anyway, yep.
Yeah, I think something that helps her is mostly the color scheme and overall shape. Second,
Mhm.
this character has a familiar looking pendant, at least for me.
Yeah, Dragon Tales.
Yeah, I
Not
definitely can see
exactly,
that.
but
But it's all good. But basically, the Dragoness then, oh, right, I can see that similarity to Princess from Reverse of the Heart. I definitely can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But anyway, the dragon basically tells him that Robotnik has captured all the dragons, but Robotnik claims that she's lying. Basically, he slams his fist on the glass and shows her the surveillance tapes of Dulcy flying. The mother dragoness is in shock as Robotnik says that he mistook her for Dulcy, then demands to know where she is. The dragoness claims that she doesn't know and refuses to tell him. Robotnik orders her to the roboticizer as she openly weeps. And again, kind of a dark moment for a show like this.
I really do respect the guts this show really has. You know, it really does take time to show just how much of a cutthroat villain Robotnik is and what kind of cutthroat world they live in.
Like, for frickin' real, this is the same series that would later give us Gerald Robotnik and fricking Solaris. Like, those might as well be frickin' placeholders
Yeah, I see.
compared to fricking SATAM Robotnik.
Yep, I can kind of see that, but we cut to Sonic complaining about having to watch the egg as Sally begrudgingly agrees to do it, with the pair of them switching positions with him going into her pouch and her holding onto the egg. Robotnik sees this and smiles, wickedly saying how fates are smiling upon him. The ship uncloaks as Sonic notices it, before telling Dulcy to fly as fast as she can. The ensuing chase scene is actually pretty well animated for the most part. Again, this is something that I feel like Deke put on way more effort in this show compared to their usual fare, you know?
Absolutely. This is way better than most of other Geeks fare.
Yeah. And like I say, basically what happens is after the chase sequence, the trio eventually evade Robotnik as he demands her as robots to find them. I do like the little detail Dulcy makes a complete perfect landing because she was so distracted by the egg she didn't think about it. And again, I like that. That is clever.
Yes,
Yep.
very much so.
Yep. We then cut to Bunny having to watch over the egg and being confused about it before the egg continuously bounces. We cut back to... go ahead, Math.
What you're saying is the Easter rabbit she is not.
A nice one,
Easter
nice one. Classic.
Bunny.
But we cut back to Sonic arriving to Uncle Chuck, who tells him about Robotnik's plan to turn the mother dragon into a robot. Uncle Chuck helps them with their plan by tying a rope around one of the hover cars so the trio goes about their separate ways. Dulcy breathes fire onto one of the floating ships Robotnik has, which melts its antenna. She then uses her tail to smash the spy drone Snively is using, followed by her breathing fire to freeze the rope. By her using her ice breath to freeze the robots. We cut to Sonic taunting one of the drone cameras before he destroys it. Robotnik still decides to pursue him, with Sonic using his power ring in order to go faster. So, yes, folks, we actually finally do have it. Sonic really does gotta go fast.
Yep, Sonic. He's got an STD. Wait, no, wrong
Okay,
thing.
yeah, right. But basically, the robots try shooting their muck guns at him, but he's too fast for them, causing them to basically hit each other. We see that Sally is piloting the ship with the frozen robots inside of it. The hover car that she's riding in, it shoots a muck at all the other robots before then shooting at Robotnik's ship, grounding him. Dulcy swoops in and saves the mother dragoness from basically being dragged to the roboticizer. Go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, when you said grounding him, all I could think is, oh, now they just need to scratch him.
If only they were here. If only they were here.
Yeah, also
Nice,
Sharvoun.
nice.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, this was a very well animated action. Sorry, I was distracted by something that happened, but this was a
Okay.
very well animated. It really does, as well as highlight some very good background work. Once again, loving the backgrounds.
Yep. Also, all I can think of when he said that was, "You're grounded, mister."
Yeah.
Good times.
Good thing he's not
Yeah.
Butters.
Yeah, classic. But what happens is basically Robotnik screams in anguish over losing yet again. We cut back to the village where Bunny is having a hard time over the egg basically bouncing up and down repeatedly. The egg then bounces towards its mother as the mother dragoness says, "It won't be long now." Ooh, let's see who's first. Sharvoun?
Yeah, first of all, I feel really bad for Bunny. Like, she was forced to do something that she clearly has no intention of doing, and clearly had a miserable time with it. And second, most of all, this upcoming edit is kind of
Yeah, I'll bet. Shark.
Yeah, the egg then proceeds to hatch into Roger. Hey, what I miss?
Classic. And Mrs. Puff is going to give everybody a good noodle star for being good noodles and saving the
my-
egg.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Super Tails.
yeah. Also, freaking the moment it bounced towards the mom and her just wrapping around it, that was pretty adorable.
Yep, but there's also a little bit of a weird editing error here because what happens is as basically the egg hatches because it zooms into it before cutting to another scene with audio of the previous scene still being audible, and it's kind of weird because it's basically them cooing over the egg and how cute it is before it suddenly cuts to another thing and you hear Sonic and the Rust talking, but they're just standing there with their backs towards the camera and their mouths aren't moving. It's very odd.
Some of them are still moving. It's something I noticed when I was watching it, but yeah, it's a
okay.
pretty odd transition.
Yeah.
All good.
Sharvoun?
But
I feel like maybe the episode was probably going on a little too long, so they probably cut out the reveal shot of what the baby looks like. Thus explaining the weird dissolve.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and again, these errors are. You basically have to look a little bit harder to notice them, not like the Mario cartoons where they're right in your face.
yeah, exactly. So that shows that Deke definitely put a different level of emphasis on this compared to Mario. Why they did that is unknown, but maybe they just like Genesis rather than Super Nintendo. The world may never know. But what happens is basically the baby dragon, which is adorable, it can breathe smoke out of its ears, which makes it a protector, just like Dulcy. The mother dragoness flies off, despite Sally's suggestion of them staying there with them, saying that she knows of a place that not even Robotnik would be able to find her. She then tells Dulcy her mother would be very proud of her, then says that they will meet again. Obviously, where she's going to is the hidden world. But unfortunately, that will be found a couple of centuries later, so I have to see what happens there.
Oh.
The episode
Yep.
then ends with Dulcy getting purple knee pads as a gift from Rotor, and her saying it's her favorite color, with Sonic joking, it was either get you that or paint the meadow as they all, or carpet the meadow as they all laugh. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Now,
Honestly,
Sonic
I ship Rotor and Dulcie in this episode pretty well. That's all I gotta say
Oh,
on that.
yeah,
that's all right, it's all good, it's all
Uh,
good. But
Can I
yeah,
say something?
go ahead.
It's
ahead.
actually I just lost it. Never mind.
Oh, sorry, man.
It's
That's
fine.
right, that's right. But anyway, basically Sonic the Hedgehog was a huge hit in the United States because it served as a springboard towards the very long-running Archie's comic version of it. And arguably, this is one of DiC's best animated shows, in my opinion. Like, this is probably in their top, maybe their top 5, I'd have to say. Not so much on enjoyment level, because I still, for enjoyment, I'd probably rather watch the Super Show or even Adventures over this. But in terms of actual quality, this is definitely on a whole other level. But unfortunately, due to legal issues, most of the characters from this canon can never be used again by Sega. But that's kind of a moot point because Sega of Japan actually absolutely despised this show. And they also didn't like Adventures either because they felt that basically this is not what they had envisioned for Sonic the Hedgehog. That they actually made stuff like the Sonic OVA and Sonic X kind of as a response to this because they wanted their own canon, and I think it upset them that like foreigners were daring to try to make another canon for the character. At least it was something like that if I remember. But basically, the weirdest part is Sega technically owns Sally Acorn because they were going to use her in one of the games. They technically got the rights to her. But despite the fact that they have it, they have basically struck her from canon outright, that she can no longer exist in the Sonic universe. And personally, for me, for someone who has literally just seen this cartoon for the first time from this episode, I think it's just okay. Like, if I was to give it like an objective rating, I probably would give it a 6 out of 10. But I will say this, it is way better than most video game cartoons in the 90s. I can see why this one stuck around in people's memories. This one was the one that was in there like glue, you know?
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
As-
Meth? Oops, sorry, go ahead.
As a
Yeah, so if you liked Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, you'd probably like season 1 better. That was actually closer to Adventures than not. Season 2 is where they actually went with a more of a linear story, and it had that happen, which was a bit weird to change that up mid-show, but it kind of worked. It was underground where they really messed up.
Ooh, yeah, I've
guess.
heard stories about that.
I will say this though, I absolutely enjoy what they did with this one. Like the darker edge doesn't really take away from what Sonic ultimately was. Not gonna lie.
Yes, I definitely,
It's pretty great. Anyway,
I
Sharvoun.
definitely said.
Well, to me, this show is basically is basically the black sheep of the franchise, but in a good way. It's it's different, it's unique, it's got its own voice, its own 80s/90s grunge to it. It's basically a much more edgy Sonic the Hedgehog. So I
Yep.
have to give it points for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to tie into our question of the week, which is, what is your favorite Sonic the Hedgehog memories? I'll go first, and I'll say that my favorite ones probably have to do with the GBA version of Sonic, because that's where I was kind of introduced to the character. I was too young really to have any of like the Sega consoles, even the Dreamcast, you know. And probably my first exposure to an actual Sonic game was actually Sonic Advance on GBA. A game that is a lot of fun to just play casually, you know, to beat normally. If you want to get all the Chaos Emeralds, good luck. Sega made it unfathomably hard to get it to like 100% the game.
The mini games you have to.
Yes.
Yeah, it is insane. Like the requirements to it are absolutely insane. but I had Sonic Advance, I had Sonic Advance 2 and 3, all of which were good, all of which I never 100% completed because, again, the requirements for all of them are pretty much nuts. But
Yeah, those games were rough.
yeah, I also had a Sonic Battle, which is probably the first time I was introduced to, like, the other Sonic characters as a whole. Like, for example, Rouge and Cream and Amy and all of them as like actual characters and not just like playable sprites. And that was that game, and it's a really good game. It holds up. It's worth playing for the story. The actual combat and the actual format of the game is really formulaic, especially because they really just reuse the same enemy 9 times out of 10 throughout it. But it is a fantastic game, and I highly recommend it, though, just for its story alone, because it's actually pretty good, again, for the Sonic universe and that. And, again, definitely another... Oh, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, Advance really, the Battle Advance had its issues. I think one of the most common is you have a mission with a character saying, "Oh, you have to beat me." You beat the character, and they're like, "No, didn't count. Do it again."
Yeah. And they repeat that like 5 or 6 times throughout the game, and it gets really annoying really fast. But, of course, also I have about the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, definitely checking that out on early 2000s YouTube, which was a blast as a kid and definitely introduced me to it. And, of course, the classic YouTube poops that came from it are just phenomenal. There's some of them that are just so hysterical even today. And, yeah, as a whole... Yep, of course. Couldn't do an episode without bringing that up. But, basically, I think as well, I might have played a few of the Wii games, but as a whole, it's funny. Sonic is a game franchise that I haven't really gone into depth like I have with, like, say, Mario or Kirby. I guess it just kind of passed me by, and again, I guess I was of the age where, I wasn't like from like the early 90s where you could get really hooked into it like how some of them were, but for the most part, I do have to say that it's a really good franchise. It's definitely a franchise that is the most interesting, let's say. It's the most fascinating with like the highs and lows it could have. Like 1 year you could have it be like absolutely phenomenal, everybody loves it, and the next year you could have it be everyone like, oh, it's dead, it's a dead franchise, it's been dead since like 2001, and then you have like the next year, oh man, Sonic's back, isn't that great? And I will say this to finish off my things about Sonic. I have seen the live action movies, and while I don't think they're as like perfect as everyone says they are a lot of fun. Like, you could tell Jim Carrey absolutely adores every second of it. And to be fair, it is probably the best version of a Sonic movie we could have gotten, at least in like this point in time. And if they were going to do it a live action hybrid, I feel like it is probably the best version that Sonic could be. And yeah, it's pretty much my experience with Sonic the Hedgehog. It's again, it's not something that I'm really big into like Kirby or like Mario, in which case I could rant about those for hours on end about like memories and that. But yeah, Sonic is definitely a fun one. I will definitely give you that. So anyway, Angron, what would your favorite Sonic memories be?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I'm not the biggest Sonic fan either. I mean, there are some things that I absolutely enjoy about Sonic, but overall, I am more into stuff like Mega Man, Mario, Transformers. Let's see here. What's another good one? Oh yeah, Pokemon, Dragon Prince, and so on. But that's not to say I didn't get some some Sonic exposure. Believe it or not, the first time I ever got exposed to Sonic was through McDonald's LED toys. At the time, Sonic Adventure 1 was out, so they got stuff like Big the Cat, Sonic, and whatnot. I played those a lot. I think they still have battery life on those, but that's just me. I think my first actual Sonic game that I ever saw was like the old Genesis games. But let me think here. My real Sonic memories, however, have to come from watching the entirety of the Sonic Adventure 2 arc, where like in Sonic X, the Shadow Awakens and it's like post chaos and whatnot. And like that whole thing was like even more cinematic than the actual games itself. And like I think the game's nice. But this right here, hearing Mike Pollock do Eggman's voice, that is the voice I will forever link to Dr. Eggman, by the way. Even though I can only pull off the Sonic Adventure 2 Eggman. I'm here looking for the emeralds. If I'm not mistaken,
You see, I don't really have the voice for it. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to say Sonic X for that one, especially the Shadow arc.
Yep.
All right.
That's definitely yeah, I definitely can see why, especially because again, I feel like Sonic is one of those things where the stories are probably better known than the gameplay at some points. Especially with more like modern Sonic, you definitely see like the cutscenes are probably more iconic than the actual games themselves. Not discounting them by any means. I'm just saying like it's one of those things where like the story I think outpaces basically what they're trying to do with it. But it's pretty interesting. Let's see, Matt, what would your favorite Sonic memories be?
I am that guy that grew up with Sega rather than Nintendo, so
Huh.
I was a Sonic kid, and I have loved many incarnations of Sonic since the OG days. I particularly love when it's just ultra cheesy and leans into how goofy and stupid some of the stuff is, which is why I particularly love the Sonic movies. It has become a love letter to the Sonic fandom, and it's actually kind of hilarious how it started. No one had any faith in it because of the original ugly Sonic trailer,
Yep.
and
Ooh,
Nice.
I was one of those
absolute
guys
hideous.
too. That I said, "There's no way I'm watching this." I even did that whole, "If you change it and actually make it look like Sonic, I'll go and see it, but otherwise, no." So I put my money where my mouth was when they actually did fix it, and I was amazed at how good they were, and especially from Sonic 2, it showed that they really cared about the franchise and the fans of the franchise. So the movies have been probably my favorite thing in years from them. And with Sonic 3 coming up, if I may steal a line from Robotnik itself, of course I want another one. I love the way you make them.
Perfect, perfect.
I love Josh Scorcher's version of that joke where Ari hands him mac and cheese and like, hey there, you want some mac and cheese? Or you look like an idiot? Of course I want the mac and cheese. And like the spoon falls out of his bowl and he just like picks it up, like still remaining in character, and he's like looks back.
Nice, nice, yeah. So let's see, Stryker, what would your favorite Sonic memories be?
You know, while I did grow up with a GameCube, a lot of my favorite games were Sonic games. Actually,
Oh.
Nice.
my particular favorite growing up was actually the first Sonic game I had ever played. Sonic Heroes.
Nice. That's a really good one from what I've heard.
Oh, that song is a banger. It still gets stuck in my head.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still like I can't forget that. I can't forget that show.
Same.
The game. I mean the game, but still like, oh man, like I want to shoot. I want to play the game again, but I gotta find my game.
Nice.
But I gotta find my GameCube. But yeah, I remember playing the game for so long, trying to get all the Chaos Emeralds. Oh shit! Like,
Oh, those one of the stages are something.
yeah, the special stages were interesting. They almost had an inspiration from the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 special stages, except sometime at one point when I almost got one Chaos Emerald, it just bugged out and I just sped past the emerald.
Good old glitchy Sonic games, especially on the
Yeah.
GameCube.
Yeah, but either way, I still love the game. Soundtrack is still legendary. Like, there's no track that I don't like in the game.
Also, this was the game that cemented Metal Sonic as a pretty powerful foe in my book, and also one of my favorite characters.
True.
Chaos Control.
Yep.
I'll crush you. Good lord, those lines.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that's my pick. Sonic Heroes.
Yep.
That's a great choice right there. So let's see, Shark, what would your pick be for your favorite Sonic memories?
Well, let's see. As someone who's only played like 4.5 Sonic games against the over 100 Mario games I played, well, thankfully, the first two games of Sonic I played are one of the most loved ones, which are Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, which, yeah, I have to agree, the level design, the music, and it was a really important era on Sonic's history because that's when he went from his classic look to the modern one he has nowadays.
Yeah. Wait, which game was it?
The Sonic Adventure
the
duology.
Sonic Adventure
Oh,
1
nice.
and 2. Yeah.
Both of those are great games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, the music is great. It's probably one of the best soundtracks in the whole franchise, and yeah, I love like it
Yeah.
introduced many of the core characters like Shadow, like Roche, like when I think I
Vector.
saw redesign in this game. I'm not sure.
I also,
But-
yeah, I like the modern Sonic design a lot better than the old one, but I do like when Sega goes back to that time and brings classic Sonic out of the woodwork.
Yeah, that's another point I might mention in a bit. But I think if I had to be even more specific, I think something I really enjoyed about both games was the Chow Garden.
Nice.
Oh yes, they also had that in the Sonic Advance series, and they were always so much fun.
Yeah,
Also,
your own
Sonic.
pet you can kind of make stronger, competing in races and fighting game. It was a really fun concept that it's kind of weird they haven't brought it back because the creator has already confirmed it. He's aware people want Chow Gardens in their Sonic games, so I don't know what they're waiting for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Also,
apparently the Chow Garden is also showing up in the Sonic 3. But the thing that's weird is that they're like costumed mascots, like actual Chow. We don't know if they actually exist in this universe, and it's kind of weird.
honestly, I like this because it's basically like I've been to a Japanese like weird cafe area, and it's pretty bizarre. But this is honestly in character for something like this.
Yep. Anyway, Shark, you were saying? Sorry to
Yeah, I
interrupt.
know. Yeah, that I think when it comes to games, it's going to be a tie between Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I will also want to add an honorable mention of something that came out very recently that has to do with Sonic. It's the dead battle between Bowser and Eggman.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love that one.
Yeah.
That is definitely one of their best.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
speaking of things. Speaking of other things that are Sonic adjacent, I was also going to mention the Mega Man and Sonic Worlds Collide comics that I have. I own all three still, and they were definitely a part of my high school experience. I loved reading them every moment. Still kind of do, honestly.
I can definitely see that. So, let's see. Sharvoun, what would your favorite Sonic moments be?
Oh, it's actually watching an episode. It was actually my first time watching The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which I did enjoy. I don't want to make. I hope I didn't make any impression that I disliked The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I did,
good.
but
No, it's all good. It's all good. We understand.
it's this was actually during I first started watching them back when I was actually in a summer-long extended stay in Mexico with my grandmother, my father, and my aunt. I was there visiting family for the entire summer, so there was only so much English language entertainment that I could watch, and so I hope I did not sound racist by that. I'm sorry if I did anything wrong
All
in
good.
this podcast.
All good.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay.
Apologize.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. Well, we
It's-
understand. We understand.
honestly,
it's all good.
But back onto my point, this was just a nice memory of me watching watching my father's laptop and watching these videos, especially the episode with the mermaid. I'm a huge sucker for mermaids, so of course that one was my favorite episode. But yeah, it's mostly because I'm not a huge Sonic fan or a huge video game fan, but I do adore Sonic SATAM for what it did. I do really like the humor of Sonic Boom, but just thinking back to the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, just brings back memories of being in that small apartment with my grandmother. You know?
Nice. Nice.
And that's just my favorite Sonic memory.
Mhm.
Aside from the reaction that people had to the first Sonic trailer and Ugly Sonic, that was just worthy.
Nice.
Yep, classic. Yep. Anyway, it's time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale. We're gonna rank the Dragoness. We're of course gonna rank Dulcy, but I also thought it'd be fun if we rank the Mother Dragon because she has a predominant enough role to where I think we can also put her on the ranking, despite her only having really about a minute and a half of screen time. I think it's predominant enough, and her design is different enough to where we can probably talk about her. Okay. Now, for me, for Dulcy, I am going to give her, and this took a lot of thinking for me, I'm going to probably give her a 7 out of 10. I know I have complained a lot about her design. I do mean a lot. But at the end of the day, Cree Summer's vocal performance really saves it. And again, the bottom heavy, Reluctant Dragon, Elliot from Pete's Dragon-esque look definitely is a big benefit. And it's in her favor in that. And again, the elements like the nose ring and the giant lips, I really don't like it, and I could probably give it only like 7 out of 10. That's like 7 out of 10, like period. I can't even go any higher than that if I wanted to. But for the Mother Dragoness, I am actually going to give her a higher score of 8 out of 10. Because again, I just feel like getting rid of the nose ring is probably the biggest difference for her design, and that she does have the large lips, but it's not as irritating as when Dulcy has it. It's just something about that, and the voice is great, and it's a shame that she doesn't appear again after this episode because I feel like they could have done something with her. They really could have done something with it.
Yeah.
But regardless, that's going to be my choices. 7 out of 10 for Dulcy, 8 out of 10 for the Mother Dragon. Let's see. Angron, what would you give them?
This one, yeah, I'm going to be a little more generous to Dulcy and give her an 8 out of 10. Yeah, the lips certainly don't do any justice to her. And the nose ring, I don't hate it. It's not bad. But thankfully, her character and ultimately certain other design aspects are making me warm up to her a little more. The Mother Dragon, meanwhile, yeah, I'm going to go a little lower and give her a 9 out of 10. It's the lips that honestly kill it on that
Lower
one.
or higher?
I said 9 out of 10.
Yeah. And you gave Dulcy an 8, right?
Yeah, 8 and 9, respectively. I like both of them. They definitely helped make this episode amazing and really got me invested in what Sonic SATAM could be. But I will say this. Yeah, the lips really lower the points a little bit. It's not too bad, and it's warming up on me a little bit, but yeah, I'm gonna give them those scores.
Okay, all right, no, that's good. Let's see. Math, what would you give them?
I'm with you with Dulcie Lud. I'm a 7. I like how creative they are with her design and how there's so many different things that she has going for her that make her completely unique. One thing that we didn't even talk about with her is she has wings on her feet, sort of like a Kid Icarus or what have you not character.
Nice.
The main issue I have with her design, and this does throw a big wrench in this, is that, yeah, the nose ring, I've just never been a fan of that, so that one is heavily me. But I think that it just doesn't look good here in general. And I think that I figured out what I don't like about the way that they do the lips on Dulcie is that it's the same shade as her skin. Whereas with the Mother Dragon, because it's pink lips on sort of a brownish face, that actually sort of works well. They blend together well. Whereas green on green, it does not look good. It blends into her face too much, and it has that weird. The best way I can describe it is what they did with the live action turtles in the TMNT movies. That just did not look good in any way with the turtle lips.
Yeah, I that's a very good comparison right there.
So yeah, between that and I kind of don't like how ditzy she is at times, but otherwise she's a great character. That's why I landed a 7 for her. The mother dragon, I'm going with a 7 as well. I like her design a lot better. It looks more cohesive rather than a mishmash of 20 different things all thrown together into a melting pot. My issue with her is, hey, 1 minute of screen time. Great. Wonderful. Can we actually have time with these characters to get them, please? I'm begging you.
I'm sure
Yeah.
another SATAM episode will fix that. To be
Maybe, yeah.
continued.
So what score would you give the Mother Dragoness again?
7. They're both a 7.
Okay,
One,
okay, so both 7.
Dulcy for the some of the odd design choices, and the Mother Dragon because we get nothing with her.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. So anyway, let's see who's next. Stryker, what would you give them?
I'm actually giving them both pretty high scores because I don't know why. Both of them made me pretty happy. Like,
I
yeah.
can see
I don't know
that.
why. I think I'll make them both a 9 out of 10, to be honest.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow, 2 pretty high scores both of them have gotten, so that's pretty good. Let me just write that in. And let's see, Shark, what would you give them?
I might be a bit harsh on this one, but
Go ahead.
yeah, Dulcy is, to put it simply, is not a face I really enjoy looking at. It has, as commented, the nose ring that doesn't look good and the lips that are distracting. And for me, they are really like noticeable. For me, it's kinda, yeah, it's ugly. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's ugly.
By all means, go ahead.
Oof.
Yep.
Yeah, and the personality is fine for the most part. The quote unquote comedy relief bits are kinda annoying or are not good at the moment. So that can also hurt her a bit. Like, you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
For those, yeah, I'm gonna have to give her a 6 out of 10. For the Mother
Okay.
Dragon, well, yeah, the design for me works much better for her. She doesn't have the nose ring, and the lips are. I think it's the fact that it kind of looks more like she's wearing makeup rather than having big lips. And for what little she does, well, we can tell a lot about her character. Like, she's willing to take the fall to keep the others safe, for example. And I just kind of wish, just like Matt said, she had a bit more of a screen time, but I'm gonna go higher with her. I'm gonna give Mother Dragon an 8 out of 10.
Okay, it's pretty good. But yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from with Dulcy as a whole, because again, when I first saw her, I thought she was kind of off-putting as well, but it's all right. Let's see. Sharvoun, our guest of the episode, what would you give both Dulcy and the Mother Dragon?
I would give Dulcy an 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I agree. The horn, the nose ring, I mean, and now that I really look at them, the lips do seem off. Animated lips are very hard to pull off, but I'm sorry. She's just a little bundle of happy joy, and she's just so cute. And Cree Summers' performance is what sets it up for me. Just a wonderful, wonderful voice actress. Watch her in Atlantis to see some of her best voice acting.
Nice.
She is fantastic in the Atlantis.
Yeah.
That is probably one of her best roles.
As for the Mother Dragon, I dock a point because there's very little to her in it. Like, she's just more of a plot point than she is a character to me. Like, at the very least, Dulcy felt like a definable character, even if this is my first time seeing her. The Mother Dragon just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, her design's okay looking. I'm not a big fan of the spiky hair she has, but her voice is decent. She's nice enough, but once again, what kills it for her is that she's more of a plot device to me than she is a real character. Also, how the heck does she know Dulcy and her mom? Like, it's not like there's a point where they indicated that she was a friend of Dr. Robotnik. Like, maybe in the flashback dream, they could have been like, she's a friend of the mother. Like, they could have shown that, but again, 7 out of 10 for me, and Dulcy's a solid 8 out of 10.
Nice.
They're nothing
Pretty good.
perfect, but they're pretty decent.
All right, sounds good. And that's going to be it for this episode. If you have any questions, or if you want to suggest how Rouge the Bat would look in this episode,
Oh my.
yep, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Ludmillanon YouTube channel and subscribe to the playlist. Hit the bell icon and like the video. Any and all support is appreciated, and comment as well. Also, one of our co-hosts, Lucky Evie, is looking to get to a group home in the United Kingdom. That will also be available in the comments and description, rather. And any all help is appreciated with that as well. Next week, we'll be talking about the 2021 Pokemon Journeys, the series episode, Thrash of the Titans.
From one Japanese franchise to another.
Yep,
This will be great.
Yep, because we're talking about a very good Dragoness in this episode, or should we say Dragonite? That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And thank you guys but that'll be next week's episode, and that'll be it for this week. And until then, thank you all so much for watching, and take care.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Adios.
Adios.
Oh.
See you all next week.
Au revoir.